When Caitlin Clark walked back onto the court, it didn't feel like a normal return. It felt like a reset. The energy shifted before a single shot went up. Players noticed. Coaches noticed. Even the trainers felt it. This was not just another athlete coming back from injury. This was a player whose presence reshaped the entire environment. For months, the conversation around Clark was filled with uncertainty. Could she still move the same way? Was her body finally ready to hold up under elite pressure? Would the explosiveness that defined her game survive the setbacks? Those questions followed her into camp, heavy and unavoidable. But the moment she started moving, those doubts began to fade. Her steps were confident. Her posture was relaxed. She wasn't protecting anything. She wasn't hesitating. She was playing basketball the only way she knows how, free and instinctive. What made the return so powerful wasn't just skill. It was control. Clark didn't rush. She didn't force moments. She allowed the game to come to her, and when it did, she took over quietly. That calm presence settled everyone around her. Teammates fed off it. Younger players gained confidence just by sharing the floor with her. Veterans recognized it immediately. This was not someone fighting to prove herself. This was someone who belonged. The comeback wasn't announced. It revealed itself naturally, possession by possession. And by the end of the first session, one thing was already clear. Caitlin Clark was back and the room knew it. What fans saw was the return. What they didn't see was the grind that came before it. Caitlin Clark's road back was not smooth. It was layered with frustration, isolation, and long stretches where progress felt invisible. The injuries stacked up quickly. A quad strain disrupted her rhythm. Another quad issue followed, refusing to heal on a predictable timeline. Just as she began to feel normal again, a groin injury emerged, one of the most mentally draining injuries a guard can face. It steals lateral movement and creates hesitation even when the pain fades. Then came the ankle bone bruise. No surgery. No dramatic announcement. Just a shutdown. 6 months without real basketball. No 5-on-5. No live speed reps. Only rehab rooms and quiet workouts. For a player whose game is built on timing and feel, that kind of absence can be devastating. Every day becomes a question mark. Will the first step return? Will the confidence return? Will the body respond the same way under pressure? Clark stayed patient. She stayed connected. She studied film. She visualized. She waited. There were moments of doubt, moments where progress felt painfully slow. But she never stopped believing that when the time came, her body would remember. And when camp finally arrived, she didn't carry fear with her. She carried preparation. From the moment Clark entered Team USA camp, nothing went unnoticed. Coaches weren't watching box scores. They were watching mechanics, foot placement, hip rotation, balance through contact. The details that reveal whether an athlete is truly healthy. Warm-ups became evaluations. Each cut was measured. Each stop mattered. Groin and ankle injuries leave traces if they are not fully healed. Clark showed none. Her movement was fluid. She changed direction without stiffness. She planted and exploded cleanly. But warm-ups only tell part of the story. The real test comes when speed increases and bodies collide. During early drills, Sue Bird watched closely. So did Kara Lawson. What they saw was encouraging. The step back was still sharp. The release was unchanged. The timing was intact. Then the tempo increased. Defensive pressure tightened. Clark didn't shrink. She adjusted. This was no tentative return. This was a player testing her limits and finding no resistance. By the end of the first intense session, the staff had their answer. Not spoken aloud but understood. Caitlin Clark was not managing an injury. She was managing the game. There is always one moment that changes perception. For Clark it came quietly. She caught the ball near the logo, a place where hesitation usually lives. She didn't hesitate. 2 controlled dribbles. A smooth rise. A familiar release. The net snapped clean. That sound echoed louder than any cheer. It wasn't just a made shot. It was confirmation. Teammates reacted instantly. Coaches relaxed. The tension disappeared. From that moment on, Clark's body language changed. She moved with authority. She pushed pace. She attacked space. She delivered passes before defenders could react. She wasn't proving anything anymore. She was playing. What stood out most was her composure. No celebration. No emotion. Just a turn and sprint back on defense. That response told everyone in the gym exactly who she was. This wasn't adrenaline. This was muscle memory meeting confidence. From that point forward, the conversation shifted. The question was no longer if she was ready. It was how central she would be. As scrimmages continued, something interesting happened. Clark wasn't just keeping up. She was ahead. Passes arrived early. Reads came faster. Teammates sometimes hesitated, not because the decision was wrong, but because it came sooner than expected. This wasn't a flaw. It was evidence. Clark's basketball IQ was operating at a different speed. She saw lanes before they fully opened. She anticipated rotations before defenses committed. Her passes weren't risky. They were precise. The adjustment wasn't for Clark. It was for everyone else. Veterans began syncing with her timing. Younger players learned to trust the pass. Spacing improved. Cuts sharpened. The game started to align around her vision. This is where elite guards separate themselves. They don't just react to the game. They organize it. And Clark was doing exactly that. Instead of asking Caitlin Clark to slow down, the coaching staff made a decision that quietly revealed everything about how they truly saw her. They chose not to limit her pace. They chose to raise everyone else's. That choice changed the direction of the entire camp. Spacing was adjusted almost immediately. Sets were restructured to create more room beyond the arc. Clark's shooting range, which extends comfortably several feet behind the three-point line, forced defenders into unfamiliar territory. When defenders stepped out too far, driving lanes opened. When they stayed back, the shot was already gone. There was no safe option. Passing lanes began to appear that simply did not exist before. The floor felt wider. The tempo felt sharper. Decisions had to be made faster, or the possession was already over. Clark was not rushing anyone. She was exposing the speed the game could actually be played at. What made this moment important was intent. Team USA was not squeezing Clark into a pre-existing framework. They were acknowledging that her skill set expanded what the framework could be. That takes humility from coaches and trust in the player. The rhythm of camp shifted almost overnight. The offense flowed with less hesitation. Reads became instinctive. Defenses struggled to recover once Clark initiated movement. Even veteran defenders were late, not because they were slow, but because the game had sped up. This was not favoritism. It was evolution. When a player changes the geometry of the court, smart coaches do not resist it. They follow it. And Team USA followed Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark never tried to be the loudest voice in the gym. She did not need to be. Her leadership showed itself in quieter, more powerful ways that experienced players recognize immediately. She led with clarity, with timing, with presence, a glance at the right moment, a hand gesture before a cut, a perfectly placed pass that told a teammate exactly where they were supposed to be. Communication does not always come from words. Sometimes it comes from precision. When teammates missed assignments, Clark did not show frustration. She did not stop running. She stayed composed and focused on the next possession. That calm response changed the emotional temperature of the floor. Mistakes did not spiral. Confidence stayed intact. When plays broke down, Clark reset them naturally. She pulled the ball out, slowed the moment, and reorganized spacing without panic. That ability to control chaos is rare, especially in a high-pressure environment filled with elite talent. Coaches began to rely on her decision-making. Teammates began to trust her reads. Even on the bench, Clark stayed mentally locked in. She leaned forward, tracked defensive coverages, and quietly shared adjustments with teammates sitting beside her. Leadership is not about commanding attention. It is about creating stability. Leadership is not volume. It is gravity. And Clark had it. Players moved toward her. The game organized itself around her presence. That is when leadership becomes undeniable. High-level camps do more than evaluate talent. They reveal temperament. When pressure increases and roles tighten, players show who they truly are. This camp was no different. Some players struggled when touches decreased or minutes shifted. Frustration became visible. Body language changed. Energy dipped. That reaction is human, but it matters at this level. International basketball leaves no room for personal agendas. Clark faced the same pressure and responded differently. She adapted instantly. She embraced responsibility without entitlement. She never demanded a role. She fulfilled whatever role was given with purpose and consistency. Instead of measuring success by shots or stats, Clark measured it by flow. Was the offense moving? Were teammates comfortable? Was the pace controlled? Her focus stayed on the collective outcome, not individual validation. That difference did not go unnoticed. Coaches pay close attention to how players respond when things are not centered around them. Teammates notice who lifts energy and who drains it. Clark brought calm where others brought tension. She offered solutions instead of reactions. She accepted coaching without resistance. She adjusted without complaint. International basketball demands sacrifice. It demands emotional discipline. It demands trust in the system, even when personal moments are limited. Clark embodied all of it. Calm over tension. Trust over ego. That contrast told the entire story without anyone needing to say it out loud. Caitlin Clark never pretended the journey back was easy. She spoke honestly about the rust, the hesitation, the fear that comes after months away from live competition. That honesty made the return even more powerful. There were moments early where timing felt slightly off. Moments where rhythm needed to be rebuilt. Clark did not hide from those moments. She worked through them in real time, possession by possession, trusting that her preparation would carry her through. What mattered most was her certainty. When asked about her body, her answer was clear. She was healthy. Not managing pain. Not compensating. Healthy. And she played like it. This was not a lucky stretch of good days. It was the result of patience, of discipline, of belief when progress felt slow. Every rehab session, every quiet workout, every day spent visualizing instead of competing. Clark did not rush the process. She respected it. That respect showed on the court. Her movements were free. Her decisions were confident. Her presence was grounded. She was not chasing form. She had found it again. This comeback was not about proving critics wrong. It was about proving to herself that she could trust her body and her instincts again. She did not just return to basketball. She returned with perspective. And that made her even more dangerous. By the final days of camp, there was no debate left to have. Caitlin Clark was not simply competing for a place on Team USA. She was influencing how the team envisioned its future. The system adjusted around her strengths. The pace reflected her instincts. The identity leaned into speed, spacing, and decision-making. This was not a temporary experiment. It felt intentional. This camp was never just about one tournament or one roster. It was about direction. About what Team USA basketball wants to become in the next era. Clark represented that shift perfectly. A guard who stretches the floor beyond traditional limits. A playmaker who values flow over control. A leader who stabilizes pressure without demanding attention. You could see it in the way teammates responded to her. In the way coaches trusted her late in sessions. In the way the offense felt more connected when she was on the floor. This was not a comeback story anymore. It was a foundation being laid. Los Angeles 2028 is no longer an abstract idea. The blueprint is forming now. And Clark is at the center of it. She is not just back. She is trusted. She is ready. She is leading. And the future has already begun.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into Hollywood's hidden history.